Have you ever looked at your life and wondered, who is all this really for? You wake up. You force yourself into clothes that don't feel like you. You paste on a smile that doesn't belong to your soul. You walk into rooms where no one really sees you. You work, maybe even succeed, inside a system that's silently breaking you. And at the end of the day, the silence inside you is louder than ever. There's a strange kind of sickness in the air. A collective performance. Everyone's smiling, chasing, posting, running. But no one really breathing. No one really alive. And yet, we call this normal. Krishnamurti once said, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." Let that sink in. Because maybe your anxiety isn't a flaw. Maybe your confusion isn't a problem to be fixed. Maybe the real insanity is being okay in a world that thrives on disconnection, distraction, and hollow definitions of success. What if the life you've been chasing was never yours to begin with? What if the success you dream of is just a gilded version of your own prison? There is a madness in the way we define achievement. We measure our worth by numbers: salaries, followers, grades, calories, views. We live as if we're products on a shelf, trying to increase our value through artificial labels. And we call this ambition. But ambition without awareness becomes self-destruction with a fancy name. You were told to dream big, but they never asked who's feeding the dream. Is it your soul, or your fear of being nothing? We don't chase success. We chase approval. We chase validation. We chase something that tells us, you're not invisible. You matter. You're enough. But if being enough requires constant proving, then what are we really building? We're not building a life. We're building a mask. And we wear it so well that even we forget it's there. How many times have you succeeded at something only to feel emptier? How many times have you gotten what you thought you wanted, and yet the joy lasted seconds, minutes at best, before the craving returned? This isn't hunger. It's addiction. We are addicted to being seen, liked, wanted, praised. Because deep down, we don't believe we're lovable without it. Society taught us that to matter, we must be someone. So we become actors. We smile through burnout. We celebrate fake milestones. We post our highlight reels while hiding the fact that we can't sleep at night. And the cruel irony? The more you adjust to this sickness, the more people applaud you. But tell me, at what point did your soul agree to this? Was it the first time someone called you lazy for resting? Or the time you were told, you have so much potential, and you felt like a failure for simply being? Maybe it was when you saw others shine on screens while you sat alone in the dark, wondering why your light never felt like enough. They sell you the idea of success like it's salvation, but it's not salvation. It's sedation. And somewhere, a quieter voice inside you has been whispering, "This isn't it." Do you feel it too? Tell me in the comments. I want to read your pain. Because if we don't talk about this, if we don't look it in the eye, we stay asleep. And maybe that's the real danger. Not failing, not struggling, but sleepwalking through life while calling it success. We numb ourselves with productivity. We stay busy so we don't have to feel. We stay distracted so we don't have to remember who we were before the world told us who we should be. Success has become a race with no finish line. You hit one goal, and there's another. One mountain climbed, and the next one is already screaming your name. You're praised for never stopping. But tell me, when do you get to arrive? When do you get to simply be? There's a quiet violence in always needing to be better. It whispers, who you are is not enough, and the more you listen, the more distant you become from your own center. So we run, from stillness, from slowness, from ourselves. We run toward titles, promotions, perfect bodies, aesthetic homes, clever captions, chasing moments of worth that vanish before we can breathe them in. But you were not born to perform. You were born to feel, to wonder, to connect, to be deeply, fully human. And yet somewhere along the way, we began trading our humanity for a role that looks successful from the outside, but feels hollow on the inside. And here's the most painful part. The better you play the role, the more invisible your real self becomes. People see your achievements. They admire your strength. They applaud your discipline. But no one sees that you're tired, that you're scared, that sometimes you want to scream into the night sky just to remember what your voice sounds like. You smile while drowning, and they call you inspiring. But you know the truth. You know that something's wrong. Because if success costs you your peace, your authenticity, your joy, is it success? Or is it self-betrayal? And if everyone around you is applauding your collapse, does that mean you're winning? Or just disappearing more quietly? Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is stop. Stop performing. Stop climbing. Stop pretending. Not because you're giving up, but because you're waking up. And waking up hurts. It means facing the parts of you you've ignored. The grief, the shame, the loneliness, the regret. All the feelings success tried to bury, but buried things don't die. They grow in the dark. And one day, they return. Not to destroy you, but to demand your attention. And maybe that's the real gift. Not the applause, not the trophies, but the chance to finally face yourself without flinching. You've spent so long trying to be what the world wanted. Isn't it time to remember who you were before the world got to you? There was a time, maybe long ago, when you still knew how to listen to yourself. When you didn't need a schedule to tell you when to breathe. When your curiosity wasn't a weakness to be managed, but a flame that made you feel alive. But little by little, the noise got louder. Expectations, deadlines, responsibilities, images of what your life should look like. And slowly, your own voice got drowned out. Now you're surrounded by people but feel completely alone. Now you achieve more but feel less. Now you smile more in pictures but cry more when no one's watching. And you're starting to ask the question you were too afraid to ask before. What if the life I built isn't really mine? This question haunts you at night. It shakes the foundation you've depended on. Because if it's true, if this life isn't yours, then who are you without it? Who are you without the job title? Without the constant approval? Without the image you've worked so hard to protect? Are you still worthy? Are you still enough? The world teaches us to attach our value to outcomes, to productivity, to how useful we are to the machine. But what happens when you pause? When you rest? When you say no? You're called lazy, irresponsible, unmotivated. But maybe you're just healing. Healing from years of trying to matter in a world that benefits from your self-doubt. Healing from the lie that your value is something you have to earn. Healing from the belief that you're only as good as your latest accomplishment. And that healing doesn't look like a straight line. It looks like silence, like stillness, like long nights of questioning everything, like letting go of dreams that were never yours, like grieving identities you outgrew. It looks like being misunderstood. Because when you stop participating in the performance, people think you've lost your way. But the truth is, you're finally finding it. And maybe that's what awakening really is. Not a sudden flash of enlightenment, but a slow, painful peeling away of everything false. A return, a remembering, a coming home to what's real, even if it scares you. Even if it costs you the life you thought you wanted. Even if it means walking alone for a while. Because what's the point of reaching the top if you're standing on a mountain of your own suppression? What's the point of admiration if you have to abandon yourself to get it? There's nothing noble about sacrificing your soul for a seat at a table that was never built for you. And there's nothing wise about spending your life chasing a version of success that leaves you empty. Maybe success isn't about more. Maybe it's about less. Less pretending, less pleasing, less proving, more honesty, more presence, more truth. The kind of truth that strips you down, the kind that doesn't sparkle on a resume, the kind that scares people because it's real. You've lived long enough in a costume. Maybe it's time to take it off. You weren't born to be impressive. You were born to be real. And realness is messy. It's raw. It doesn't fit neatly into the boxes society lays out for you. It breaks patterns. It disrupts comfort. It demands you to look in the mirror and ask the question, Am I living my truth or just surviving my image? That's what Krishnamurti meant. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. You can be well adjusted to burnout, to disconnection, to pretending, to pain that you call passion. You can be high functioning in a world that rewards dysfunction. But deep down, you know the truth. Something inside you is dying in the process. And that part of you, maybe the most honest part, has been whispering for years. But you called it weakness. You called it laziness. You called it failure. It wasn't. It was your soul asking you to come back, to stop trying to fix yourself and start trying to find yourself, to stop numbing the ache and start listening to what it's telling you, that your life is not a competition, that your worth is not negotiable, that your spirit was not meant to be sacrificed for a paycheck, or for a stranger's applause, or for a life that looks good in photos but feels empty in your chest. The people who are truly awake, they don't always look like winners. They're the ones who walk slower, speak softer, cry more often, laugh without needing a reason, walk away from things everyone else is chasing. They're the ones who understand that peace is not a byproduct of success, but often its opposite. That being free means being misunderstood, and that authenticity always comes with a price, but it's the only currency that ever really matters. So if you're feeling lost right now, if you're starting to see the cracks in everything you were told to trust, if you're tired of living a life that doesn't feel like yours, then maybe you're not lost at all. Maybe you're finally beginning. Maybe the pain is not a signal of failure, but a sign that your soul refuses to settle. So let it break. Let the identity you built shatter. Let the illusion collapse. Let yourself be wrecked by the truth, because only then, only in the rubble of what's false, can you start building something real. And when you do, you won't need to chase success, because you'll be full from within. If this spoke to something deep inside you, if it reminded you of something you've tried to forget, then don't leave here in silence. Write it, share it, speak it, and if you feel like no one else understands, you're not alone. I'm here, and so are thousands of others waking up to the same truth. Subscribe to this channel if this made sense to you, not because it's popular, but because we need more places where people can finally be honest. We need to talk more about what no one talks about. We need to remember who we were before the world told us what to become.